Hello everyone, and welcome to Windows Forensics here at Pentester Academy. In this video, we're going to continue our discussion on automating the mounting process of images using Python. In particular, we're going to talk about mounting extended partitions. So let's get started. So here I have another Python script, and as before, it starts with the proper shebang comment on the first line saying please run Python 3 for this one. I import the same libraries, sys for getting command line arguments, os path for knowing if files and directories exist, subprocess for creating external processes to make directories and mount, and struct for packing and unpacking binary data. We have our same MBR class as before. Nothing has changed here. Our usage statement has changed slightly. The only real change is that this tells you that this script is for mounting extended partitions. Now, we could have integrated this into our first script if we wanted to, and if that's what you prefer, feel free to take what I have here and modify it. I just thought it would be a little bit cleaner to separate mounting of things in extended partitions from things in MBR-based partitions or primary partitions. We do the same check to see, did I get a command line argument that has the image file name or not? If not, you get the usage. I have my list of extended partition types and also swap partition types. So I begin as before. I read the first sector that contains the MBR. I open the file as read-only binary, and I get the main MBR. I iterate over the 4 possible partitions as before. In this case, I check and I say, if the partition type for one of these partitions is in my list of extended partitions, then I'll print a message saying that I found an extended partition. I set a variable bottom of rabbit hole equal to false, and this is a variable I used to determine if I have reached the innermost nested extended partition. As we discussed before, extended partitions are stored in a linked list. So if I look inside that extended partition, there is a mini MBR, if you will, that only has the first 2 fields at most populated, and those fields will have any real partition in the first entry, and the second entry, if it exists, will normally point to another extended partition. And I have to keep going until there is no second partition in the extended partitions MBR. So if it was an extended partition type, I print the message. I set the start of my extended partition equal to the number of reserved sectors for this partition, because recall that inside the extended partition MBR, these numbers are all relative. So I need absolute numbers in order to properly mount my partitions. I start my numbering at 5 for extended partitions, and I say, while I'm not at the bottom of the rabbit hole, I reopen my file. I seek to the start of my extended partition. I read in my 512 bytes for my extended partition MBR, and then I close my file. I do a little sanity check. I say, is this 512 bytes? If it's not, then I've somehow gotten to the end of my image or something else is wrong. I create an extended partition MBR object using that 512 bytes. If the partition type is one of my swap partitions, I'm going to skip mounting it. If not, I'm going to proceed as before. I'm going to set my mount path equal to /media part and then a number. In this case, it's the extended partition number, which will start at 5. And if my directory does not exist, I will create it by calling make dir and giving it mount path. I will set my mount options as before to loop, read only, no access time updating, and I will set my offset. My offset is going to be my reserve sectors for partition 1 plus the start of my extended partition. All of that times 512. I print a message telling you that I am attempting to mount this partition. I call mount exactly as before. The command is mount -o says here's some options. Here's my list of options. I give it my image file name, and then I give it my mount path. If my extended MBR partition 2 is empty, if there's nothing in that second field in the MBR, then I'm done. I set bottom of the rabbit hole equal to true, and I say that I found the bottom of the rabbit hole. Otherwise, I update extended partition start by adding the length of reserve sectors for that second partition, and I increment the extended partition number. And this will keep going while bottom of rabbit hole is not true. I use the same trick for my main. I check the variable _name _ to see if it's equal to _main _, and if it is, I call main. So let's go ahead and have a look at this in practice. I'm going to run my script, and I will run it against an image that has an extended partition just to see what happens. And you'll see that it found a swap partition, and it also found the bottom of my rabbit hole. And it said, okay, we're done here. If I run the same script on something that does not contain any extended partitions, it just exits like so. So those are extended partitions. As you can see, it's really not that much more difficult to mount an extended partition. You certainly could do this manually, but why would you want to do that when you can get Python to do it for you? Well, that's all for this video. As always, if you're enjoying these videos here at Pentester Academy, please tell a friend. We'll see you soon.